such as, I don't know, like killing children is morally bad, I think. And I think majority of people would, across nations, would sort of accept that.
Now, what if you find a nation that actually, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Now, what if you find that in 10 years' time there are other nations who are silent witnesses to this, some of them even in the background, perpetuating this?
Yeah.
What if they begin to adopt this position for themselves and you find that the world is tending more and more towards the idea that killing children, if it serves our better needs, is good for us?
I think a lot of the times, even those people that essentially are murdering children, I think a lot of the times if you ask them, oh, do you think it's good or bad to murder children, they'll still say no, but they will find excuses to excuse their behavior.
So you are saying inherently something within them tells them that it's not good to kill children?
No, so that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that our morals are societally constructed, and I think a lot of the times what we consider moral, good or bad, is...
I understand, but when you said if you had in the future where more nation states, it's the biggest corner, isn't it? More nation states, they agree to it's okay to unalive children, it's because it serves our interests better. But your response was something rather interesting. You said, even though they may say so and do so, but something within them tells them that it's not right. So I want to focus on that bit. What do you mean by they still know? Is that an inherent disposition?
I think it's quite inherent to just human beings, right? We look at little babies where this is something that can protect themselves, so killing it is bad. I don't think that inherent thing, I think it's built into our genetics, it's built into, you can say it's because of creation, you can say it's because of biological things. I think we just have different disagreements on where that's coming from, but we can arrive at the conclusion where we want to live together peacefully.
I would resonate with you and I agree with both of you. But I would say if this is what we can accept, I also find inherent within us is that understanding that there's something greater than us which has originated this universe. I didn't create the sun and the moon and the galaxies, and I know there's intricate complexity, harmony and design operating. The laws of physics operational, and the laws of physics are not conscious themselves. So what put them there? I didn't say who, what? What is governing, controlling, and maintaining this kind of one-way things? It's not chaotic everywhere. Suddenly the Earth spins the other way, or the sun says, "I'm going to just shut off my nuclear reactions." It doesn't happen. This seems like all going according to the pre-programmed precision engineering design. Don't you see it?
I think it's interesting because we see the same things, right? We see the same order of the universe.
Yeah.
And for you, it becomes it kind of extrapolates this up. You're thinking that, there must be some overarching kind of order.
No, it's not me. Beg your pardon. What I'm saying, just like inherently we know something is bad, raping, unaliving children, it's not good because you don't want that for your own self. Something tells you in your heart that cannot be right. Doesn't matter how you justify it. Doesn't matter if your forefathers in the past, they did something wrong and you are going to take revenge on them. No, it tells you within you, there's something that tells you that cannot be right. Likewise, something within every one of us tells us that there is a supreme, higher, something extraterrestrial that has perhaps made all of these things. Why do we say it doesn't matter? And when it comes to everything else, we say it's important. Remember you said about your question about God, and you say it doesn't really matter. What if we are here for a purpose and we're not fulfilling? That would then matter, isn't it? Imagine you end up going to tomorrow at your university or your workplace, and you just do your own thing, and you don't do your research, you don't do your studies, you don't attend your classes, you don't do your job, and somebody asks you, who says, it doesn't really matter, I'm just here. We don't behave that way. We behave something differently, I am committed that I have to fulfill my objectives of my studies, my research, my job, and so on. We do that in our everyday life, but when it comes to, seems like something, whether there is a creator for our universe, we often take, my personal view is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are too preoccupied, correct me, yeah? We are too preoccupied of trying to enjoy ourselves, to find peace and happiness and joy in our own lives. We want something that makes us happy, comfort, joy, and we are preoccupied in such an extent that we don't want to think about something else. I don't want to think about death. Forget that, I want to make myself happy now, okay? Maybe when I'm older, I'll think about death. Heaven, hell, God, you know what? Leave it that to philosophers and, other people. Isn't that what's stopping many of our young people like yourselves to not ponder deeply on this matter? Or am I wrong in this assumption?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think it comes from where you derive meaning from in your life. I think believing in God, having belief or whatever, it definitely is a good source of feeling like you're connected, you're part of something, something of your life matters. I guess maybe just my personal perspective, I think the kind of meaning or joy for me to get up and do something in my life comes from the fact that we're all
interconnected.
Back to that little bit conversation about the order of things. I feel like there's a lot more connectedness I feel between me and other people. I feel
properly basic, right? These properly basic principles that all human beings share.
I find
The
it
idea.
very,
Sorry, go on.
interesting. I was going to interject and say something. I find it very interesting when we talk about God. A lot of the ideas that kind of be attached to God, whatever your God is, can be also attached to capitalism, and a lot of the times I see capitalism almost being a god that is overarching, that dictates how people live, whether they have time or not to
Couldn't agree more.
It does a lot of, it sort of serves a lot of functions that religion once did. It has become a sort of religion. It's ritualized as well, people go and shop, people consume, people chase happiness constantly. There's a lot of the ideas, the structure, there's just so many similarities. So sometimes I think about capitalism as God, not necessarily that it's something that
do you think
I
that's something that human beings demand and require in order to live a harmonious life? I.e. one structure being replaced, like you've identified, by another structure. You're saying a religious structure that keeps human beings together upon a moral basis that will facilitate goodness for them is better than no system at all, such that anarchy begins to prevail and it transforms into chaos. So for instance, you guys coming together as friends, you guys immediately know that there are certain basic principles that you need to implement in order for your relationship to grow. Now expand that to your family, to your street, to your village, to your city, to a country. We all hearken towards some type of harmony. So there is something there that's properly basic. Now, people like me and my brother here, what we do is we extend that and say, why is God taken away from that equation? The creator of all things, wouldn't that be just as basically proper as those things that we recognize, such as what you've identified? Don't go around killing, don't lie, don't steal, don't do things that are negative, because it'll ruin, ultimately, relationships, whether individually or collectively.
I think a lot of people I think what we attach to God a lot of times is also religion, and I think a lot of the times religion, just like capitalism, is associated with a lot of negative. Even Catholicism. It's associated with so many negatives in my mind, for example. And I think many people that are religious, that my friends that go to mosque, they also cheat on their wives. They do a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you are religious that you're a good person, or whether you're going to follow. Of course, it gives you some guidelines to have a community to follow certain rules, and maybe it kind of gives you time and space to try and ponder and find a bigger, deeper meaning. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is going to do that.
I think there's something far greater than that. It's not just about having rules and doing those, implementing those rules to live a more harmonious life. I mean, fundamentally, if there is a creator, then there's a source beyond us that brought us into existence. And now suddenly, it's not just about, I'm going to decide what is right and wrong, or my family are going to decide, or my society is going to decide, or whatever. Now suddenly there's a source that brought everything into existence, and we have to ask ourselves, do I not owe that thing something? Now, when we talk about God, we talk about, before jumping on to organized religion, right? We ask ourselves, is there a way of determining whether this being exists or not? other beyond just emotion or beyond just
I think
blind
this is a
following?
fair question.
I have a thing that I was saying it to my friend. So as I said, I don't believe in God necessarily, but I think that God exists because anything. So I think a lot of the things that exist in our society, anything and everything, even your mom, the way that you understand it, the way that you view it, and the meaning that you give, that brings it into existence is a societal construct. And because there are people that believe in God and there's a definition of what God is and so on, therefore it exists. Because everything around us that exists is a social construct, essentially.
Can we remove the social construct from our inquiry? Or are we always biased to social construct? Whether it be scientific investigation or sociological investigation, are you saying this element is always there?
Social construct element, I think so.
Okay,
Very much so.
then we have to apply
I'm
these
biased as
standards.
well because I study sociology.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is now, given this is the problem,
Yeah.
social construct everywhere,
Yeah.
so this should be considered as a bias already in our investigation. Just like we do sociological studies and scientific inquiry, we have to take that into consideration, but still we'll be able to do a robust study, can we not? Exactly. So this shouldn't stop us from inquiring about the question that my brother asked. So let me start with something very fundamental or basic. I mean, it's not something that you would consider like, wow, you need a high IQ for this. What do the rocks dream of? These rocks?
Probably nothing.
Probably or definitely?
Sorry, what was the question?
What do the rocks dream of? Do they dream essentially?
Inanimate.
I mean, as far as I know, probably.
You say probably, but you're not sure?
I guess like
So do you have an element where they could dream?
That's not something I would ever be able to know.
Yeah. So it's most likely.
It's proven that
Right,
things
sure.
that don't have consciousness, they cannot dream.
Yeah.
Even certain animals, they cannot
Yeah.
dream.
So it's a-
Dreaming is brought upon consciousness.
It's a material object. Okay. So I think we can pretty much agree that it doesn't dream of anything. Okay. Given our understanding of matter and living entities which are conscious, semi or subconscious, whatever. So if we understand the concept of nothing, because that's what I'm trying to get at, nothing. Do you know nothing has many understanding to many various people? Professor Lawrence Krauss wrote a book called Universe from Nothing. But his nothing is not actually nothing. His nothing is about quantum fluctuations. There's quantum fluctuations from which particles come in and out of existence and then become real particles. So scientists and philosophers, they actually pondered deeply about the concept of nothing. And they came up, because I'm not one of them, right? They came up with 9 levels of nothingness. From 1 to 9. The first level of nothing is like this. Let me give an example. Your friend gives you a box of presents for your birthday, for example. And you open up, and there's no presents there. He said there's nothing. Your reaction, but there's nothing in there. But think about this. It's not there's nothing in there. There's space, there's time, there's particles, gravitational waves, so many things in there. So that nothing that you described, I thought like there's nothing in there, which is like present, it's like level 1 nothing.
So
If
in
you-
order for us to understand the world, we cannot think to the quantum level. Actually, we would not be able to have this conversation if we thought to that level. So when we say there's nothing in the box, it's because there's nothing in the box contextually. Yeah, there's no present. It would not, humanly, would not make sense to think to that level. Like it
Yeah.
would not make sense to think.
So I
about
want to drive,
particles.
you're absolutely
Yeah.
right, absolutely right. I want to drive to this concept of absolute nothingness. So nothing can be could mean to different people different things. Yeah. What you said, there's nothing in there, was correct in one level. There's no presence. Okay. So what then we do if you vacuum out the air, so there's no air in it, so you can remove another level of. But still, there will be all these quantum waves and so on. So eventually, what they've said, if you remove quantum fluctuations and even potentials to bring about something, energies, laws of physics, speaker's corner theatrics. Yeah, if you are not familiar with it, that's what goes on. You know, the conversation that happens like with very much interest and civilized conversation. Others are just having fun and mockery and so on. So maybe you can have a look at these later. But what I was saying about nothing. So if you remove this police around. Don't worry about it. If you think about physical violence, we have police cars stationed all around. And we are here. Maybe there's just you see some of them already there. Can you see a lady there?
Yeah.
Police hat. Yeah. So don't worry about physical aggression taking place. They will take care of it. So scientists and philosophers come up with a nice thing in which say, if we removed energy, quantum fluctuations, laws of physics, laws of logic, abstract things, negative numbers, if you remove everything, including God, deities, avatars, remove everything. So what you're left up with is something called absolute nothingness. It's very difficult to understand a concept, but we can contrast it with what is something and say something is you and me and all these things. Absolute nothingness is opposite to everything, that it's free from everything. Now is the very important question, and which question requires a little bit of thinking and pondering, right? This was easy. What the rocks dream of or not? Okay. If something exists now, like you and me, we exist, could there have been a time in the past? Doesn't matter how far you go, there was absolute nothingness.
Yeah, I think so.
But remember what we defined. Absolute nothingness is the absence of everything, including potentials. So you cannot bring about anything.
If you can go back like unlimited time, I think so. Yeah.
If there was absolute nothingness, that means it doesn't have anything. It has no God, no laws, no energy, no potential to do anything. So it's basically non-existent.
Yeah.
So how can it do anything? How?
Yeah, I think that's for scientists to figure out.
No. We've
Because I
already.
think there are many things that we're throughout the years unable to.
You see, that's why.
Just as mind-boggling as this concept that you've presented, like I don't know. Like,
It's absolute nothingness.
Yeah.
We can conceptualize it. Absence of everything, including that it can do something, because there's nothing there to do anything. To make you and me, to make a universe like ours, you have to have energy to begin with at least. But this thing doesn't possess energy.
Does the initial thing necessarily being some kind of power of all the creation?
This thing that we are saying absolute nothingness doesn't have power, doesn't have energy. So how can it do anything? So if we exist today, we cannot rationally accept that there was something in the past where there was absolute nothingness, because you can't do anything.
I don't know. I can't rule it out because I think that a lot of these very mind-boggling concepts that, like, I don't know, years ago or centuries ago that people couldn't grasp or understand or even like think of.
Like what?
Have like, I don't know. Once upon a time, electricity didn't exist. Let's start with that, and it's not that.
No, that's about
it's
how
not
much
that far.
you can see. But we're talking about philosophical, logical concepts in which, for example, do you think really that in the future, somewhere down the line, there can be a married bachelor or a triangular square?
But those are things that we give meaning to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is it possible for them to exist?
I mean, unless the meaning changes.
No, keep the meaning. It will never happen. Why? Because these are diametrically opposed concepts. Like, if you're married, you're not a bachelor.
but
If you're a bachelor, you're not married.
Yeah, but when you say triangle and what we all imagine as triangle is because that word has been conceptualized and
Yeah.
meaning has been attached to it.
So you can't have a
if you-
triangular
if you-
square.
If you, for example, I don't know, went like this is me like reaching, but because I don't know anything about them, but like let's say you went to visit a tribe in Amazon forest, perhaps the way that they conceptualize a square is the way that you conceptualize a triangle.
No, that's not what I'm
Like
giving.
that's-
I'm not saying we have a
missing-
misunderstanding of our concepts. Given that we know what a triangle is, given that we know what a square is, could there be in the future, with our technological advancement, philosophical improvement in our thinking, could there be such a concept? If you ask yourself, you will say never. Why? Because these things are contradictory. These things cannot exist. So there are things that operate in our universe. They are logically contradictory. That principle violates the principle of non-contradiction. And that principle is a universal principle. Everyone knows about this. Principle of non-contradiction. That something cannot be true and not true at the same time. P and minus P. Cannot be.
Are you saying that because of that there must be something, there couldn't be absolute nothingness?
No, what I'm saying, the question about maybe that nothing did something. But we've already conceptualized that nothing is absence of everything within it. So you can't do anything because it doesn't even have the potential to do anything. So given that definition and concept,
We can't. So I think when you are disproven so many times, not you specifically, I'm saying like we've had ideas that we were very sure of for many years, and they do get disproven by science and things, and our understanding of the world and how we came about and so on changes over time. Even like the way that human beings come about has changed over time. Perhaps we used to think that we didn't exist, or maybe we existed just as an egg in your mother's ovaries, and then eventually it came about. But now we know that actually that egg was carried through like generations. We learn so much as science advances, and I think when we can't put a definite stop to say that if there was absolute nothingness, then we wouldn't, like, the world couldn't happen, the universe couldn't have come about.
do you mind explaining how this can be possible?
I'm
when
not
it doesn't
a scientist, so I'm not.
No, it's
going
not
to-
about science.
Which scientist has ever conceived of this idea that if there's absolutely nothing, something can come about from
So
absolutely
that's
nothing?
what I'm saying, that there's no one has said that if there's absolute nothingness, nothing can come about, and other way around as well. We don't have a definite answer, therefore to interpret it and give a stamp of sort of like, there we go, we have an answer there.
Do you agree with this? Do you agree with the idea that?
Because it's like we have, I think a lot of the
So
times
the
we have-
impossible
So I
can
understand
become possible.
I understand where you're going.
You know what you're saying? The impossible can become possible in the future.
Yeah, I think so.
So you can become like a Milky Way galaxy yourself in the
I don't
future.
know. Yeah, I don't
It's possible,
know.
yeah?
I don't know. I think this is very sort of a big logical jump.
So
I
one
think-
one
I
final
think what we
thing.
should do-
One final thing. It's possible that in the future, God exists.
Maybe that's why we didn't.
Now, why do you
say
say maybe? It's
But
possible.
Yeah, everything.
So
is
given the
possible.
now, if he's
we didn't say that
so,
we don't
I want to
God
take
or
this.
like-
No,
like-
I want to take this forward. The concept of God, that God exists all the time. God is beyond time and space. He is the one that will has to necessarily exist.
Yeah, but
So
those
given
that believe in
given
him,
that it's
that's
possible that God exists in the future, then he will exist in every possible world in every possible time. So he exists now too.
But that's
The
what
moment
I
you
think
grant
that God is real because you believe in God. You believe in God. I assume that you guys do. So like that's why I say God is real, but I choose not to
That's
believe in
fine.
God, and
But
that's
I-
what I think is beautiful about society as well, and about people that
No
are
one's denying
moral
that.
in
No one's
their
denying that.
stance.
But I think what you're doing is fundamentally conflating. You're mistaking something that could eventually change over time into something else with the law of non-contradiction that we're trying to impress upon you. You know what the law of non-contradiction is? It's something that exists and doesn't exist at the same time and in the same respect. So when we have anything by definition, conceptually, it can't be that thing and its opposite at the same time. If it is, then you know when we go about making truth claims, like for instance, we came from our mother. If we deny the law of non-contradiction, that statement that we've uttered is now false at the same time.
Because somebody
Just let me
could
finish.
say
Let me
that they
let me
came
finish.
from
Let me
their
finish. Let me finish. Because
But that's what
let
I
me
mean
finish.
when
Let me
I say
finish.
it.
Because it seems like you're missing the fundamental point here.
Maybe I'm missing your point. Then.
It's not.
Maybe
It's
it
not.
wasn't clear enough.
It's not about whether a person can become something. It's what that person is at that particular moment in time. If we define something as it is, it can't be the opposite of that at the same time. It might turn into something 1 second later or 1 million years later, but that's not the law of non-contradiction.
I think.
Do you understand? Do you understand that?
Yeah, but I think it's. I think society is full of those contradictions, though, and
But
there's so many that.
If that's
exist.
true, then society is also not full of contradictions. Because if you deny the law of non-contradiction, no matter what you utter, it's possible for it to be false at the same time. So now, you deny the law of non-contradiction. Make a truth claim, and what I'm going to conclude is that the opposite is also true. So if you say to me, I think this, the opposite is now false because you've denied the law of non-contradiction. So whatever you say, I think A, well, I think not A.
But I didn't say that I deny the law of non-contradiction. I said that I think actually society is full of contradictions, and that contradictions do happen. And I
Do you
think
abide
that
by
it's-
this law?
Tell me which type of contradictions do happen, and that they're true at the same time.
As I said, for example, maybe a thing that person over there, he believes that God is one thing, you probably guys believe that God is
That's
something
not a contradiction.
else. How is it not a contradiction? Because we don't have a proven value
Because-
of God.
because-
So God only exists in belief?
No,
Yes.
look, when you say that guy,
Yeah.
that guy is, for instance, we can define him as entity A. When you say entity A believes in God, but entity B doesn't believe in God, that doesn't fall into the law of non-contradiction. It has to be the same entity having a belief.
But yeah, you
And-
both believe about God.
No,
That's
but
the same entity.
I'm not that entity. I'm a human being,
Yeah.
B. That's a human being, A.
Okay.
The law of non-contradiction means only one entity, A.
Okay, so entity A.
Do you
let's
now
say-
understand?
Yeah, let's say I'm entity A, and as we began the conversation, it's like I personally choose not to believe in God, but I also can listen to you, believers. I have friends who believe
Yeah, that's
in
not a
God,
contradiction.
and I completely can emphasize and believe also that God is real. in
That's not a
terms of-
contradiction.
But it is a contradiction because I also believe that God is real because it exists for social construct, through other people's belief in God.
No, but that's not a
Let's
contradiction.
just give an
per se.
example what you said. I personally chose not to believe in God, and I say you also affirm at the same time. I personally chose to believe in God.
Is that possible?
Would these two statements be
I believe
correct?
that God is real for you guys.
No, for you.
So I
If you say I believe for me, I personally chose not to believe in God, and I personally chose
but
to believe
I am
in God.
literally answering
Sorry,
in the
go ahead.
terms that you guys have said, that one person, entity A, cannot have two contradictions. And I'm presenting you with a
ahead.
contradiction that I presented even before I knew of this concept of the contradiction, right? So it is not something that I came up in sense of in terms of the argument, but something that I genuinely believe, which is like, for me personally, I do not follow this idea that God is real.
Do you-
And that statement, hold on to that statement.
Yeah.
I
Let me
personally,
finish this. And then, thank you. And then I also believe that God is real in terms of social construct, because social construct, your belief in God, the fact that there's religion, the rituality around God and so on, brings God into life. It exists because there is. When you tell me God, I know what you're talking about. Like I understand more.
So
or
let's
less
see what I've
like
understood
you're
from you.
talking
Let's see
about.
what I've understood.
Yet I don't believe that there
Sure.
is God.
let's
So
see what
that's
I've
a
understood.
contradiction.
Let's
My answer-
see what I've
Yes.
understood. For yourself, you personally chose not to believe in God,
Yeah.
but for others, they may choose to believe in God.
Yeah.
Is that right? Right. Do you see these are two different contexts?
Yeah.
Contradiction has to be in the same context. That's
Okay.
why, let me rephrase these statements to see whether you accept them. I, like you saying, I personally chose to believe not to believe in God, and I personally also choose to believe in God. Would that two statements be correct?
Would
Yes,
they be?
because essentially that's what I told you.
No, you said for others. So for yourself, I
But that's
personally.
my belief. It's not your belief
No,
that God is the social
let's.
construct.
What
That's
we're
me
doing
believing
is
that the two
explaining the
things
principle of
can exist in
non-contradiction.
society.
Okay?
No.
Let me clarify again. Don't take it personally, please. Okay? It's just
I think
it's just
you guys are lovely.
it's
yeah.
just describing the concept of principle of non-contradiction. So if you state, I personally choose not to believe in God for myself, and I personally choose to believe in God for myself. If you say that at the same time, which one is correct? Can both be correct? How?
How can both be correct?
Because I personally, for myself, do not believe like that the way that I live my life.
We understand
let's put it, right?
But can
then I
the opposite
also-
be true for you?
But I also believe that there is God in terms, because the way that I look at society is that everything that
No, for you. Do you believe there is a God, or do you not believe
that's what I'm saying, isn't it? But I'm giving you context.
No, but we don't. Look, the context changes your initial assertion, which is
But
I
it
don't
doesn't. It
believe in
explains it.
God.
It does not change it. It doesn't change it because I say two things. I say that I do not believe in
Are you-
God.
are you following
You
this?
see, you just
And
said
then the second thing I say I do believe in
Exactly.
God.
You-
And then-
Let's bring your friend in.
just before.
What's your
okay, and then after
understanding?
this we'll go.
Sure, no problem. That's
I
absolutely fine.
think, just backtrack a little bit, I think it's cheap to win or lose an argument about God over a technicality of whether what exists and what doesn't exist.
No, but this is a fundamental technicality. It determines how you go about living life. Look, you guys, whatever you guys choose to do in your
I
lives.
think at the very beginning of the conversation, I said that whether God is real or not, exists or not, whether I don't think that has a huge impact on my life.
Yeah.
I will still, if you tell me, oh, there is a God that's actually real, like tomorrow I will live my life exactly the same way that I've always been living. So that's
But
why
do you recognize how it is that no human being can make truth claims, whether they existed in a cave 20,000 years ago, or if they're going to live in some other planet 20,000 years from now? No one can make a truth claim if you don't actually believe that in the law of non-contradiction. You don't actually affirm the law of non-contradiction. Do you see how truth claims don't make any sense thereafter?
Because the opposite would be true in that case, right? So if you say it doesn't matter, it means it does matter.
Yeah.
You can't have both.
Science would never be. We would never be able to progress in science by being able to test things, verify things, if we didn't fundamentally, all of us collectively affirm that two things cannot exist at the same time and in the same respect.
On quantum physics level, it can. So
No, quantum physics is misunderstood. There's uncertainty.
I'm not a scientist, I cannot speak on that.
But that's the problem is when sometimes we hear about something, we want to use that concept, but when probed a bit more, we want to play safe. In quantum mechanics, if you study further, it's about uncertainty because we don't know what goes on, the mechanics, the rules that is operational in there. But in the future, we'll get to know about these rules that are operational. But it doesn't mean there's no causation. There is cause and effect, but the uncertainty principle, Heisenberg's principle, it tells us we can't predict exactly how this is going to be. Is it going to spin this way or that way? So doesn't matter. Imagine it means God doesn't matter to me and God matters to me at the same time. You'd be struggling with that proposition. Which one is it correct for me?
But it depends on which areas of your life it matters and it doesn't. It matters to me when my friends speak about something that's important to them and they speak about their experience of God, religion and so. And it doesn't matter to me when I wake up in the morning and I decide, I don't know, let's say what to eat or whatever. Like, when there are areas in which it matters and there are areas
So some
where it
areas would matter
doesn't.
then. Then what your friend is telling you, in this understanding, some areas does matter. So it's not like a wholesale rejection, it doesn't matter. Now you are in a conundrum. If some areas matter, what are those areas and why does it matter? Let's leave it there.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice talking to you.
And you too. All the best.
Nice talking to you. It's just we don't shake hands with.
Sorry.
We can explain to you why. I can shake hands with my wife, my mother, and so on, sister. But it's showing you respect. There is physicality, connections, how we make song. Islam teaches one level of respect to the other like that.
All right.
All the best.
All the best.
Take care now.
Thank you. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.